In Shadow of Mordor, you play as the character known as Talion, a ranger captain who is part of the Gondor station at the Black Gate. Now, this game starts off with a brutal, violent beginning of seeing your wife and child slaughtered in front of you by Sauron's Uruk forces. This really sets the entire tone of the game, and eventually it's pretty generic and linear in terms of the story because you want to kill the person who in fact killed your wife and child. Although there's a lot more to the story than that, this game has so much to offer that roughly will probably, in order to collect everything and do everything in this game, I would estimate would probably be about a 25 to 30 hour campaign. I spent about 16 to 17 hours. For the most part, this game is amazing.
The ranger from the Black Gate. Where was your bravery when we bled your wife and gutted your son? Kill him!
First things first is the combat of Shadow of Mordor, and it is awesome. If you've played any of the new Batman games, the combat will feel very familiar. But personally, I enjoyed this combat far more than any of the Batman games simply because of how brutal it really is and how violent it is. Of course, usually you have a combo meter, and by combos you can, usually it starts at 8. 8 combos you can perform an execution, which is some very violent / instant kill with your sword, as you can see here. They're very brutal. There's hundreds of different execution styles, and it's really, really unique because each one, there's so many different ones that I really haven't seen that many repeat themselves, and they're so bloody violent and satisfying that it makes it so fun to do combat. The combat will take a learning curve, though, as certain characters require certain buttons for you to do defense and roll out of their way, and it does get very, very challenging. This is not an easy game at all. If you've played any of the Assassin's Creed games, then this will also feel at home. Batman and Assassin's Creed. The stealth mechanics, running over objects, sprinting, jumping over things, is very, very familiar. But I personally think this game does it better than its predecessors. And I say that because it's so satisfying in everything you do. Even the challenges that you do, it's satisfying. The stealth mechanics are basic at most, but I feel as if this game really polishes off of what's already been done and makes it into a near perfection. When you get later in the campaign, you become so powerful and it's so badass. For those that I forgot to mention, you're a human mixed with a wraith form in your body. So you're a mix of wraith and human, and the further you get into the campaign, the more powerful you become with all of these different modes and things you can do, how to take out enemies, and it's so satisfying. I'm going to keep saying the word satisfying because this game does that. You can use your environments to your advantage. With explosive barrels, you can free monsters, and you can mount these monsters and kill people. Use the environment to kill enemies easily. In fact, you won't even, for most part, even have to go into a stronghold or fight anybody, as you can silently, stealthily take people out. Shadow of Mordor also has 2 different skill sets. One for your ranger, which is all around combat with your sword, defense. Then, of course, you have your wraith, which is your more of a stealth ability / strain ability / well, there's tons of abilities for the wraith class, but your wraith class and ranger class are really awesome in terms of the balance that you can switch in between them and the things you can do to combo your wraith skill and your ranger skill. You also have 3 different weapons: a dagger, a sword, and a bow, all of which, when you kill enemy captains or mini bosses, they drop runes. These runes can be equipped into your swords, your bows, your dagger, which gives you perks and makes your combat far easier. When you kill random enemies, you can do what is known as gaining intel. This is where you use your wraith to gain intel of the hierarchy system, which I wish more games would do. And this is the unique part. You can use and gain intel on war chiefs that you want to find, and these are big bosses. And you can see here from all the different weaknesses, they have 2 weaknesses and all of the different strengths that they have. Some bosses you can't use your executions, you can't use stealth, you have to use the environment around you in order to damage them, even to hurt them, and some of them don't allow you to do vaults over them or stun them. And when you get killed by one of these war chiefs, the interesting thing is it changes the game drastically, because when you get killed by these mini-bosses, they will remember you if you fight them again, but they also grow in power. Now, the cool thing about this entire hierarchy system of orcs is you have different factions that can create power struggles, and different orcs want to kill each other and move up these ranks. The crazy thing about this is that you can play a drastic part in everything that happens in this hierarchy system of orcs. See, right here, this guy killed the other orc because he's more powerful, and therefore the hierarchy of command, other people level up, they become more powerful. As they level up, they get more armor, they gain more strengths and less weaknesses. Each time I die, other Urex and Orcs rank up in power, so it kind of punishes you when you die. And if you die too much, you can fill all of these ranks right back up. Any random character that kills you, it will rank it right back up. In terms of something, this is such a cool feature. Later on in the campaign, later on, you can do what is known as a purge. This purge is where you dominate a said Urek or a war chief, and you can control them, and you gain their basically control of the army. You can see the first 3 on the war chief here of blue. These are my guys that I have branded. Branded as in they're owned by me. I'm making my own little army. Now, when I make this army, I can go into bases and I can brand up to 15 different players and enemies, and then I can make them fight on my side along the stronghold that I'm attacking. And then when I do this, I can invade, and I make what is known as power struggles and riots, where I take, these is under my command, this small little army of Urex and war chiefs, and I can fight them against other factions of these orcs. It's so unique. Now, in these particular cases, I can either sit out and just watch them fight. If my guy dies, then he goes up in rank, and I lose my branded war chief. But in most cases, I tend to usually invade and help, because if the guys are more powerful, they will most likely lose. So I usually jump into combat, help my war chief, he grows more powerful, along with branding and purging this war chief that I'm currently fighting right now.
I've been dreaming up ways to cut you down. Allow me to show you a few.
I think this is one of probably the most unique aspects of this game, is the hierarchy system, and the ability to be able to control and make threats and use and strategize literally what you want to do with your own personal army of Oryx, and strategize with your own personal army. One of the big problems that I did find is when taking out a mini-boss is if the alarm is thrown, which is really annoying because every 15 seconds, about 30 seconds, a guy runs the alarm. You always have to kill him. If he summons the alarm, it literally becomes impossible. As you can see here, there's almost 40 different guys down here, all covering the main guy that I need to kill. And when you have that many different enemies, all of which can do different attacks and blocking techniques, it's nearly impossible to actually kill the guy you're supposed to kill when there's that many enemies at once. It's literally nearly impossible. Furthermore, I did find an issue with getting stuck in the game world. This happened several times. I'm completely stuck right here. I can't move. I was just trying to get some herbs. On the further note, there's herbs you can collect, there's hunting challenges you can do, there's animals you can dominate and ride and purge and take control over. It's such a unique game and has more to offer than any game like Assassin's Creed, and I personally think that this game should be what Assassin's Creed should be. But other than being stuck in the game world like you can see here, and the few FPS drops when there's loads of enemies on the screen, and having too many enemies on the screen that you can't really do much, this game is fantastic in every regard. It's a great game. It has a solid campaign. This game has collectibles, so many challenges you can do. The game just has so much stuff that I'm actually planning on buying the DLC, because this game has so much to offer and so much content. The game world is so vast and diverse, with 2 gigantic maps of Mordor, the dark side and the pretty side with green grass, that this game is amazing. My overall experience has been great, with the exception of being stuck in random walls and having too many enemies at once. So if you want a great, fantastic game that is what Assassin's Creed should be, I recommend picking this up.
What would you have done?
Do you speak with the living? Or only with the dead?